I'm doing great. I am excited to talk Star Trek, talk destinations, everything.
Yeah, I think I like to think our topic this week is kind of appropriate. Um, we're hitting the 1 year anniversary of sort of things like travel and
Yeah,
tourism kind of became, you know, thing of the past, at least temporarily, hopefully. And we are starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel, I think, with respect to that. So it's going to be cool to like put ourselves in the Star Trek universe and, think about, say, travel was restricted for some reason for a year or 2 years, whatever, and where would we want to go in the Star Trek universe?
yeah,
When the haze lifts and you can go out and do the things you could normally do. So really cool topic. Really excited to talk about it. I love the opportunities to like I said, put ourselves in the Star Trek universe a little bit and think about it from like an in-universe standpoint. And we don't do that too often. And
yeah,
looking forward to it.
yep.
Yeah. But before we get into that, as we always do you have any rewatch recap
I
to
don't.
share?
I don't.
Okay.
I've been bad this week. I've been busy. Hopefully this weekend, rest of this weekend, will be filled with Star Trek and catching up on the Deep, Deep Space Nine. So
There you go. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, it happens. I've had weeks like that not too long ago.
yeah,
A couple weeks, I think it was really no movement. But for me, I'm moving along a little bit into the meat and potatoes of season 3 of Deep Space Nine. This is like the rare point at this point in watching Star Trek. Now that I'm into like the overlap period where there's two shows at once, there's this little period at the beginning of season 3 where Voyager hasn't started yet, so it's actually like 12 episodes in a row of just Deep Space Nine,
yeah.
with the exception of Generations, which is like right at the end of that run. So I watched Second Skin, The Abandoned, Civil Defense, Meridian, Defiant, and Generations.
Okay.
And right off the heels of that, I'm going to have Fascination, Past Tense 1 and 2, and then Caretaker. And then I'm off into the
Ooh. Okay.
yeah. So some exciting stuff coming. Mixed bag of episodes, I think,
Yeah.
as far as what I watched. Meridian is a stinker, not one of my favorites. I'm always down for romance in Star Trek. I think there are lots of examples of that working well. There are some examples of it not working well, especially when it comes to, and I think we've talked about this, like on Star Trek romances. I think we did an episode, maybe we touched on the sort of risk involved with sort of having one-off romances for the characters, like having a series regular fall in love very quickly with a sort of a random guest.
Yeah.
TOS does that a lot. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The new shows do it a little less often, I think, but when they do it, again, mixed results. I really love Lessons, which is like kind of like that, where you have a main character have a romance with a new character for that episode. But this is one that I feel like does not feel like it gels very much. Like I think that's a little forced,
Yeah.
especially given the choice that it forces Dax to make and the decision she winds up making, at least initially, to leave and go with these people. That never feels earned to me. And makes it a tough one. But and I think I remember you saying sort of the same thing when you were in season 3,
Yeah.
that was kind of a
Felt
misfire for you.
it felt a little bit out of character for Dax. I don't think she would be that ambitious to just throw away everything she'd worked for
Yeah.
over just some guy she just met. So
Yeah.
and then the B plot is weird and bad as well in that episode. So yeah, just kind of an all around stinker, at least
Right.
for my money.
I also think taking kind of a risk with like phasing yourself and going out into another dimension. I feel like that's a risky decision
Big sci-fi
for
concept.
Join Trill.
Yeah.
It is a cool fiction. When the episode starts, I'm always like, oh man, this is cool. They're on the Defiant.
Yeah.
They're out there exploring. It's kind of like a traditional Star Trek idea. This planet appears out of nowhere, and they're like, what the heck? And
Yeah.
the sort of investigative, what's the scientific,
Mhm.
phenomenon stuff. I dig that. That's classic Star Trek to me.
Yeah.
It's the love story that I think is kind of forced. I don't think the chemistry is as strong as you need it to be for one of those one-offs to really work. And again, I think the decisions that Dax makes and the rapid fireness of her willingness to kind of throw it all away and take a leap of faith, it feels false to me, given that she's joined. There's so much emphasis, it seems to me, when you're talking about a joined Trill, with like protecting the symbiont at all costs, like making sure that it continues on, and that you're kind of one piece of the lineage as one host, and there will be more to come. And I feel like taking that leap of faith of, I'm gonna phase myself out of this dimension and go phase away for 60 years and see what happens, like that seems like a risky thing to do for the symbiont. So not a favorite, but I enjoy Civil Defense a lot. I know that's an episode close to your heart.
Yeah.
It's a really fun one that never fails. It's so rewatchable. It's so just like easy flowing. He uses all the characters, including the recurrings. I love seeing Garrick and Ducat. Their like banter is great.
Yeah.
You don't get to see them together too often, and whenever they are, it's really, really well done.
Yeah.
So that's a great one. I really enjoy that. Second Skin is really great.
So good.
Yeah, so there's some good ones in there. Generations is a fascinating thing to talk about. We were doing Trek After Dark last night, and it's really a mixed bag. And I mentioned while we were kind of just casually talking that I think it might be one of the most divisive things. I tweeted about it, and I feel like the range of responses that I saw ranged from putrid, makes me physically ill, to I love it so much, it's my favorite TNG movie, it's way up there on my movie ranks. Like, you get such a wide variety of responses there.
I think you get.
I have mixed feelings myself.
Yeah, you get a lot of nostalgia with it. You get to see kind of the old ways, but also the new ways. I think it's a very ambitious. It tries to do a lot, but for my money, it's kind of middle of the road for me, at least.
Yeah, I always kind of put it there. I put it towards the bottom of the middle of the pack for me, and a lot of it is driven by nostalgia. I mentioned that, as I was a 7-year-old seeing it in theater, loving The Next Generation, the rush of seeing the characters, the sets, the ship on the big screen, and bigger than life was something I'll never forget. I mean, it was a really memorable movie theater experience, and I thought it was so cool at the time. But it's clearly it's flimsy with the Nexus, and it's kind of convenient the way that works. That's a very strong emphasis on like plot device, driving the story. But it feels sort of reverse engineered again, getting Kirk and Picard together, like find a way to make this happen at all costs.
Yeah.
Doesn't always feel totally organic and sensical. But I enjoy it every time. I'd be lying if I sat here and said that, while I'm watching it, I'm not kind of like along for the ride and kind of happy doing it. But I'm aware as I'm watching it that it's, it's not as airtight as say First Contact is, or Voyage Home is. There are better entries, I think.
Yeah.
More complete. So. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into the topic of the day. Let's put ourselves into the Star Trek universe a little bit, and
let's do it.
Put our consider a situation where we can't travel for a long time, and now that travel restriction's been lifted. Like, what are the kinds of places that pop to mind for you as like, I would want to go here?
I think the easy one that I feel like everybody kind of mentions is Ryza, but for my money, that's not something that kind of came to mind, and maybe because I'm kind of in this specific headspace because I'm watching Deep Space Nine, but I would love to go to Bajor. I think there's some great garden scenes that look super peaceful with like the the monasteries and things like that. There's some great, like really rich culture that I think would be in the history and things like that. I think, but there's also other provenances you could explore, like just kind of a sleepy kind of farm kind of community too. Would be really fun, I think. So yeah, I think that's Bajor is probably the one that comes to mind for me, just because I think maybe the destination's kind of it can reveal like how you are as kind of a person. I kind of like a peaceful, kind of sleepy, maybe some deep culture instead of sitting on a beach somewhere, which I appreciate. Definitely was on my list. I do like the Ryza type of argument, I guess. But I think Bajor came to mind for me kind of right away.
Yeah, I agree with you. Rise is the one that pops to mind, like, because it's easy and it's the place that they always want to go and shore leave, and it's like kind of driven into your head that that's the spot. That's the one that draws everybody. That's where Starfleet officers go, and they get a bunch of shore leave built up. Mm-hmm. And I buy that. Like, and I would want to go to. There are things about that. I think of like the Enterprise episode, 2 Days, 2 Nights. That little villa that Archer's in looks super comfortable. Looks like a great time. The nightlife that Trip and Reed. Hijinks aside, like there's a cool bar. Like it seems like there's cool things to do on Horizon, and it's not just sitting around in a lounge chair with a Horgon sitting next to you. Like I think they've done enough to show you that that's not all there is. There's more to do, and so I would definitely put that there. But I agree with you also that my head was saying Ryza because that's what pops to mind. My heart says Bajor for a lot of reasons. I think because Deep Space Nine does so much heavy lifting to sell Bajor as a living, breathing place where there is, like you said, there's monasteries, there's temples, there's institutes, and there's places to go, and it feels like a fully realized place, and with diversity in terms of like climate and culture and history. So I echo everything you said. I would have that way up towards the top of the list, and on top of that, you can catch a transport and go up to Deep Space Nine and go to Quarks and walk the promenade. Like what else do you need? Like I would of course, like the promenade in Deep Space Nine is something that I am equally drawn to. Like who wouldn't want to spend a couple of Quarks?
Which we kind of didn't really talk about it, but I meant to talk about it kind of at the top of this kind of discussion. I think for my money, the destinations, you have to exclude the holodeck, because I know the holodeck is such a great piece of technology. You could go anywhere, do anything. But I think I would want to physically go somewhere, like on a shuttlecraft or, a transport or something like that. I would want to go there. Like, I get the argument of shore leave with, the holodeck. And it's a cool tool, but I would want to physically go somewhere.
I agree. I totally agree. I think especially after if we're in a pandemic-like situation where travel is restricted, I think if we had holodecks, people would be spending a lot of time in holodecks right now in our real life, and I'm sure that's what would happen in the Star Trek universe if there was no travel for a year or whatever. People would really, take comfort in the holodeck and getting an opportunity to pretend that you're somewhere. But I think the real life spontaneity that is offered by actually going to a real place is something that would draw me pretty actively. Cyber Honey talks about Bajor the way Sisko describes it to Admiral Ross in Favor of the Bold. There's so many scenes like that, I feel like, through Deep Space Nine, especially as the show progresses and Sisko gets more comfortable with it. Like the way he talks about Bajor, I think builds a lot of that stuff up, with making it an attractive place to go. He gets to a point where he starts talking about it as this is where he wants to retire. Like when he's done in Starfleet, he's not going to Earth, he's going to Bajor. He's going to build a house on Bajor. For all these reasons. And I think knowing where Sisko came from and knowing how resistant he was to being there at the beginning tells you all you need to know about comfort of that place and the beauty of it, and that all definitely draws, I think, both of us to make that probably our number one. Like that's where you would go.
Number one.
Go anywhere.
Number one for sure.
I agree. It's just different vibes too, I guess. Like with anything, like different vacations, different, if for different, you might have different goals in mind. There are things if you want to accomplish that maybe Rise is the better place to go. There are other things that Bajor is probably going to give you. So it just depends on what you're in the mood for. And I think after this year, I would be more in Bajor. Some of the things that Rise would give you, you could get in a holodeck if you really needed, if you really wanted. Let's see.
I have another one. If possible, or I have a few more. If possible, the Borath Monastery. I don't know because I know in Klingon culture it's such a kind of
closed.
Closed. Not a lot of people can go there. So, but I think it would be such a cool, just to be able to experience Klingon culture to like the max. And I don't know if I would want to go to Kronos, and that would be like it would be scary to kind of go out at night if I were to go to Kronos. But I think going to the monastery would be it's up in the mountains. It's really like excluded, and I'm sure there's some beautiful views and some some great architecture as well. Is that where they went in Discovery as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I got the time crystal.
I love that kind of that setting too. Just like, I mean, it's definitely cold and stuff, but it's not like frigid. It's not like I could just freeze and things. So I kind of, it's kind of like going into the cabin up into the woods, kind of where it's kind of excluded, very colder climate, but not too cold, right? Very excluded. So I think that's kind of my next one, if I could, because I know that it's definitely tough for outsiders to go there, but if I could.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a premium spot that might be difficult to get into, but if you could. Jeff is in the Periscope room and he said, great call. He likes Borath a lot. Mm-hmm. And I echo that. If you could find a way to get in there, I would love to see it and explore the culture there and the Klingon sort of religion and history and all that stuff. The Klingon thing that came to mind for me, maybe because I just recently watched it, I talked about it on Trek After Dark a little bit last night. Again, it's kind of an episode that I weirdly enjoyed more than usual. Is in Firstborn, they go to this Klingon colony in TNG, Maranga 4, where they have this big festival. It's like a Kahless-centric holiday, and they do a big thing. And it seemed like a pretty safe place. Like you mentioned Borath being like kind of an exclusive for Klingons only. You have to have like a real reason to be there. You're probably not going to let a human Starfleet officer just kind of wander around Borath. But if you could do it, especially at some point along the timeline, maybe it opened up and good relations with Klingons, maybe you can get in. But this Klingon colony on Maranga 4 looked like open and welcoming, and Starfleet officers were kind of just like wandering around, checking it out, taking part in the different things they have. I would like to go to a place like that for Klingon culture and hopefully not get mugged or beat up or harassed, but I'd take the risk at a place like that.
Yeah.
So deep cut choice, Maranga 4, Klingon colony from one-off little teeny Firstborn episode. Cyber Honey mentions these just Kronos, smelly, and there may be those strange monsters roaming around, and there's Rura Penthe, not for her. Rura Penthe I would not choose. I don't think I would have any desire to go there. And that's why you got to be careful picking Klingon locations. You might end up on Rura Penthe unwillingly. You go to the wrong place, and you make the wrong move, and you insult the wrong person. You don't want to end up at Rura Penthe. Jeff in the Periscope room, just to throw out another suggestion, mentions Free Cloud from Star Trek Picard with the Vegas type location. If you're into that kind of thing, if you're looking for
it's like the Vegas of
yeah, exactly. Yeah, if Vegas is your vibe and you want like on a bigger scale with Star Trek window dressing and aliens and all the stuff that goes along with that, I think Free Cloud's probably your spot. The way Picard portrays it makes it look a little dangerous to me. It doesn't look like the safest place to be. But I could see it. It's like clearly it's a place people want to go.
Yeah,
like people end up there for riffraff and all kinds of reasons.
Yeah.
What else comes to mind for you? Do you have any others? I have a couple, but
you can go. Go ahead.
I like Trill. I think Trill, especially the way it's portrayed in this season of Discovery too, even in like Equilibrium, I think it's with the capabilities that they had and the resources they had. I think they did a nice job with the purple oceans, and Dax describes some pretty cool locations to go check out. She wants to take Cisco to. I think it seems pretty nice, but I think the way Discovery kind of portrays it, it makes it even look more appealing as just like a pretty place to be. relaxing and welcoming.
Yeah.
I think that would be on my list of places I'd want to see at some point in my life if I lived in the Star Trek universe. So another one with a lot of history and a lot of cool places.
Yeah.
To check out.
Do you think they have
with a welcoming environment?
Do you think they have like kind of a cruise ship equivalent in Star Trek where maybe you can, hey, let's tour the I don't know, I don't know, like the Badlands, like just these kind of destinations where I guess maybe some I don't know if they're vacation spots,
should be.
But like historical, like, hey, let's go to the neutral zone between whichever, things like that.
Yeah, there should be. I would hope that there would be some kind of like package deal kind of a thing where you could get on a ship and they take you to all the different hotspots. Yeah. If there was, I'd go.
I would also go to if they had any like historical ship. I know the shipyards could be a place, but we don't really know if there's like have just like tours and things like that. But I'm sure they have places where they retired old ships and things like that. I would love to be able to see that. But
yeah, I think, don't they mention a couple of times? I think in These Are the Voyages they mentioned that the NX-01 is a museum, and I think somewhere along the way do they mention something else? So I think you're right. I think there are like historic ships that are basically repurposed as the museum-like artifacts. So wherever that is, wherever they store these things, would be a cool place to go for sure.
This just kind of came to me as well. Add this to my list. Cassidy Yates says she knows of this baseball kind of tournament where they play it on this. I forget, but I would go there. Cestus 3. I would go there, get a hot dog, and kind of enjoy just baseball.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree. That would be a cool place.
Yeah.
Cestus 3 is the place, in the connection there, and it makes it like a memorable spot. That's the planet and arena that they go to in the beginning. It's like a Starfleet colony, or a Starfleet work post that gets blown up by the Gorn, and it gets mentioned again in Deep Space Nine as that's where there's this baseball league, I guess.
Yeah.
The Pike City Pioneers plays it on Cestus 3.
Yeah.
So that's a really cool choice too. Cestus 3 would be a neat place to visit. For some cool history with what happened in the 23rd century, and you got baseball too, at least happening. I'm sure there are other unmentioned things that are going on there too.
I don't know if this got mentioned in chat or on Twitter, but I feel like I saw it. But Baku, wouldn't that be a great place to go as well?
Baku would be cool.
Yeah.
In Star Trek Insurrection, absolutely. That's certainly a luxurious, laid back, beautiful location.
Yeah.
Welcoming people. I think that's probably a neat place to see. Cool rings. I'm sure that would be.
Yeah.
It's kind of in an isolated spot in the Briar Patch.
Might be tough getting
probably
there.
not the most accessible.
Yeah.
But if you can get there,
I
think that's a cool location for sure. Jeff also mentions Beta Z, which also seems kind of lush and relaxing, the same way that Trill does. Like a lot of the similar qualities there. I agree. There's a lot of planets like that are advanced, kind of like Earth is in the 24th century, that kind of have it figured out. Good climate, good places to go, clean air, clean water. Not I think there's a lot of places like that. I think those are two examples that are kind of hitting the same sorts of buttons.
Yeah.
So good call, Beta Z. Yeah. Because I just watched it. If you're into this, that kind of thing with the clean air, clean water, good food. I just watched Meridian. If Meridian happens to be phased in, you got plenty of time. And you want to climb a tree the way maybe that same tree that Dax and what's his name did. You can head into the Gamma Quadrant and wait for that planet to pop back in.
Yeah.
Spend a couple of days walking around those gardens, and I'd check it out if it was the right time where it's around. Would you go to Andoria? Too cold, too icy, or would you want to?
I think it would be. I feel like in my headcanon they have got like fun ice cave. Like you can explore ice caves, you can climb them, explore them. I'm guessing the Andorian ale. They probably got good bars there too. I think that's one of the destinations maybe that I would enjoy the people there more than the actual like. I think it would be fun to definitely do some like ice cave exploring or climbing or things like that. But yeah, I think I would enjoy the people maybe a little bit more than that.
Than the environment itself. Jeff also mentioned Dayton Ward's Vulcan Travel Guide makes Vulcan look pretty appealing. Yeah, there is a whole book on if you were to go to Vulcan in universe, things to see it on planet Vulcan. And episode like Home in Enterprise, the fire planes, the trip is so excited to see, and the volcanoes, and it does seem like there are cool things to see there if you're, if you're tolerant of the heat and the sort of desert climates that are very common there. I would definitely go to Vulcan for sure. That's another one. If I lived in the Star Trek universe, that is a planet that I would want to see and spend some time on in my lifetime for sure.
Yeah,
because of the history and the culture there and the familiarity with
not too big
all
on the
that
heat
stuff.
maybe, but
the heat's a little worrisome for sure.
Yeah,
that would be my least favorite aspect of it. And the thing I wouldn't want to go on a trek in the Forge for sure.
Which they probably have the Forge tours. Maybe
they probably do. Yeah, in a nice little comfortable shuttlecraft that maybe you poke out and walk around for a few minutes and then get back into the AC. Sure, I can do it.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't want to take a hike in the tour. I wouldn't want to take a hike tour in Forge. That's for sure.
Yeah,
but I'd want to go to Vulcan. I'd want to see Vulcan architecture too.
Yeah, is there a Delta Quadrant destination that you would maybe want to go? I think it would be fascinating to this maybe not really a destination, but more of like a fascination. The planet in 30 days with all the water and how they.
Oh yeah.
I think that would be fun to kind of see.
Yeah.
Kind of that. That's just kind of like a spectacle. That's the other thing. It doesn't really have to necessarily be a vacation destination.
Sure.
It could be like a spectacle. Or you're kind of curious, like I am with I forget the planet in 30 days, but.
No, there's a lot of things to see that you might not necessarily want to like spend a ton of time or get off the ship.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are, especially in Voyager, the time anomaly planet in blink of an eye would be a cool thing to just kind of see from a distance. You don't want to get too close, but that would be kind of neat.
Mm-hmm.
I think because Voyager is so built on like these high concept science fiction ideas, and high concepts. There are a lot of like planets like that, regions of space like that are appealing on that level, like on a scientific level.
Yeah.
But it might not necessarily be the safest places to go.
Mm-hmm.
One that kind of pops to mind is like on the surface looks like, oh, that would be a cool place to hang out for a little bit. Is that Sakaris, the one from Prime Factors with Pleasure Dude.
Oh,
who, early on.
Who's
super welcoming and very happy to please, at least for the beginning of the episode. I guess if you approach it from the right attitude and you don't push too many buttons, asking for this and that, like, as long as you don't ask for his technology, you'd be pretty good to go. But they did apparently get assimilated by the Borg, so I guess depending on where you are in the timeline, it may or may not be available to you anymore. But it certainly looked like a welcoming place, as long as you didn't step on too many toes.
I would love to. I'm trying to look up the name of the thing, but there's the Remember in Drive where they enter that race, that shuttlecraft race? I think that would be kind of a fun activity to do in the Delta Quadrant.
Agreed. Yeah, the Delta Quadrant's loaded with things like that. I'm really eager to like get into Voyager with the rewatch because it's been such a long time. It's been a couple of years since I watched 2-3 years maybe since I really got into Voyager, and it doesn't seem like a long time, but for me that's a long time. So there's got to be other things in Voyager. But there's so many things in Voyager that I definitely wouldn't want to, like all the like if the Vidians are kind of hanging around there, if the Hirogen, or if you're like in Hirogen space, if you're in Borg adjacent territory, no way. Like that, I'd steer away from a lot of places just out of an abundance of caution. I didn't survive this travel ban situation that we're putting ourselves into to get assimilated or to get, organs pulled out of my body by the Vidians or crushed by Hirogen.
Yeah.
There's a lot of places to be careful of in the Delta Quadrant too.
Yeah.
What about that planet in Envoys in Lower Decks with all the different all the different embassies, like different regions that are like run by different cultures. Like there's a Klingon spot. There's it's like a hub of all this activity, different societies. That I like. I would want to go there.
That's
I don't remember the name of the planet.
Yeah, that's a place where you could knock out a bunch of stuff. Like you could experience
like
a bunch of different things. I definitely agree with that. That's a good one for sure. I think we have to even mention Earth. I feel like I would love to go to San Francisco, see the Academy, see the headquarters and things like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, Earth for sure, especially if you were stuck off of Earth. After,
exactly.
For whatever this travel ban, if you're on a ship and you couldn't go anywhere or whatever, that would be a strong pull for sure to go back to Earth and see it. And I feel like that's not uncommon in the Star Trek universe. Like there are probably Starfleet officers who have been to Earth in a long time. So
yeah.
Yep. Hug a tree.
Yeah.
Any others pop to mind for you?
I'm trying to think. Is there a destination in Enterprise maybe that, or I know we've touched on a few things with Deep Space Nine specifically and Voyager specifically, but
Rogue Planet from Rogue Planet, the episode Rogue Planet. It seems like a pretty neat place to at least see. It seems like a rare, a rare occurrence to see a rogue planet that's like alive, not just like a rock in space. So I'd probably throw that some love as a place I maybe want to see at least once. If they fixed or found a fix for the pollen issue in that early episode, the planet in Strange New Worlds, I wouldn't want to have the same experience that Trip and Qual and the rest of them had. If they could fix that, give me an injection, I would go there. That looked like a cool place to hang out.
That's I guess there's a few like that if they could fix. Like Resolutions. What's a planet?
That planet.
It's kind of like
kind of thing.
Tropical kind of. But you would have
untouched forest.
A wood carved bath that you could go into.
Yeah, right. As long as you don't catch the bug. The virus.
Yeah, exactly. That's the only fix. But I would be kind of fascinated with like a kind of essentials, right? They have all these, Starfleet issue, survival things you had to build yourself and things like that. I would be kind of fascinated to be able to experience that for a month to 6 weeks, depending on how much leave I had saved up. But I would not want to be trapped there.
No. Jimmy77 mentions the enormous space dock for seeing Star Trek 3. And I think of STO. You know, I played a little STO, and that space dock, like location seems like a cool thing to see. The one thing I would say about that is if you're in Starfleet, I'm sure you've seen that. Like I'm guessing that you've probably been there. But if you haven't, for whatever reason, that's definitely something I would want to experience.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a good shout out, Jimmy 77. And then Cyber Honey asks if there are space phenomenon that we would want to see. Like maybe not a planet, like you were kind of saying. There are some planets that maybe for like scientific reasons you'd want to see and get close to, but you might not want to.
Crystalline entity.
Spend
maybe.
Too much time.
Again, maybe keep your distance, but
yeah.
Crystalline entity.
The Badlands.
Badlands.
Like an interesting thing to see. The wormhole.
Oh yeah, big time. Go to Deep Space Nine. Yeah.
And see the wormhole. Yeah, that'd be the thing. That's again why I keep coming back to. If I could go anywhere, I would go to Bajor / Deep Space Nine. There's so much to do. There's quarks. There's see the wormhole. There's tour Deep Space Nine as a whole. There's so many shops and things to see just on the promenade, and then on Bajor, it's a treasure trove.
Yeah.
So, and it's safe. You're protected by Captain Sisko up there or whoever's in charge.
Because you'd be a Federation citizen.
Yeah. Yep. ER Mixon's craziest theories mentions the planet from Justice, which is
I don't know if I'm fit enough to go there. Don't step on the sacred planet. Flowers or whatever.
Yeah. That's I think you'd have to have the right personality for that. I think the way that they frame that, the sort of, in my opinion, kind of cringy element of that episode is that they make love at the drop of a hat, right? Like it's like the most casual thing. It's like shaking a hand. Like, yeah, there are people who might get down with that and think of that as like a tourist destination. There's some people who might not, be as comfortable hanging out in a place like that. So, your mileage may vary. And you obviously need to be very careful not to step on any growing grass or protected piece of landscaping or something. You might just wind up in big trouble. Jimmy 77 mentions the Yorktown station in Star Trek Beyond.
Oh, that would be really cool.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Rob's in the room on YouTube.
Rob.
How you doing, Rob? Good to see you as always. Yeah. For architecture and culture, Cyber Honey would go to Cardassia Prime. That's a bold decision. That's another one.
I'd be scared to go out at night, but that's order in the day. Their trials scare me.
You don't want to wind up in their justice system.
Yeah.
You get a tooth pulled and not good. Watch Tribunal and scary. But I mean, if it was a protected environment and a sanctioned thing and you felt pretty safe, I do feel like the culture, the history, the architecture on Cardassia would be a neat thing to see. So maybe post what you leave behind, like post Deep Space Nine, new government, Dominion's long gone, no more Golden Cot. Perhaps I could see a trip to Cardassia Prime.
That's the same thing with Romulus, right? Or any place where the Romulans are at. Like it would definitely. There's some great culture, and I think there would be some interesting things to explore, but also
risky.
Yeah.
I don't want this to be my last vacation. Cyber already mentions Andoria for a winter vacation.
Ice caves.
Ice caves.
Cool.
If that's your vibe, if you're comfortable with the cold temperature, and I think that'd be cool. We talked about that, Rob.
Yeah, Rob, we
mentions
did.
The Pleasure Planet, which season 1. I think we said as long as you don't, step on any toes and ask to use any technology, I think it would be a neat place to hang out for a little bit. They certainly seem accommodating. But Picard does seem to indicate that they have been assimilated, so I think it would have to be the right time period.
Yes.
You might show up at that planet expecting to be greeted with, pleasure and accommodation and find, ruins and drones.
Yeah, Jimmy, we mentioned a few other places that I feel like the humans or outsiders would not be welcome, but would be fun to visit.
Cyber Honey says she would want to visit the Nexus.
Oh, me too. Me too.
The Nexus would be cool, but the Nexus is risky in its own right. Look what it did to Soren. He got obsessed. It wasn't good.
But just think about just chopping wood, riding horses. I mean, it's
anything you want.
Yeah,
that's the beauty of it. Absolutely, there are some cool possibilities in the Nexus, but I don't know if you'd ever want to leave. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yep. All kinds of things. It's one of those little missions you could have, like if you started a rewatch and had a pad of paper next to you to like jot down every time they came across a thing or a planet that you genuinely want to go see if you lived in this universe, like go visit as a vacation spot or as a scientific curiosity, something you'd want to go study or check out. That would be a cool little side project to kind of track just how many things like Star Trek presents, because there's so much of it. Obviously, there's 800 some episodes and so many places, so many things, so many anomalies, so many sightseeing opportunities that you can't hold them all in your head. Rob, you love Favorite Son. It's the most
I feel like every time you come in here you mentioned Favorite Son.
It's fascinating. Just make sure you escape before the ceremony. Yes.
Yeah, big time.
Indeed. 1980s Earth from the Voyage Home would be a fun place to visit.
I don't know if I'd want to ride the bus.
No, not that bus.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think again you could go on forever, and there are tons of places. It's a cool way to kind of think about the episodes and the movies, and go down memory lane thinking about all these different places and sites. It's been a fun conversation.
I'd love to go to the Royale.
Royale.
But again,
as long as you can get out.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. If I could solve the mystery and be able to get out, I think that would be fun as well.
Yeah,
but
that's the whole key.
Yeah.
You don't want to be like the guy who was legit stuck in the Royale and never got out.
Yeah.
That's. Yeah.
I
agree.
Well, if you guys have any more, definitely list them here. I think we're probably going to wrap up the conversation as a whole, but I think this just kind of came to mind, and this is just me you guys are going to get a little bit of taste of how we kind of brainstorm our topics. But I think, Bill, we should have a part 2, but you do holodeck programs and try to keep it as PG as possible. But what holodeck programs would you use for not a vacation, but in your free time?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
I think that's a cool, you're a Starfleet officer, you go to the holodeck, you got holodeck time. What do you do?
Yeah.
What do you use it for? I think that's a cool thing to think about. And I think we'll do that. I think that goes on our list of topics.
Yeah.
So Jimmy77 says, how about characters we'd like to meet? I think that's a whole nother potential topic too. Characters that we think we'd vibe with and want to hang out with. Definitely a good idea.
Yep.
Yeah.
All great ideas.
Yep. Absolutely. So before we wrap up, I'll just do our typical plug for our Discord server. I put out a call for new members. We did get a new person the other day. That's always open.
Yep.
Because we always mention it on the show. If you're interested, Discord is an application that you can get on your phone or on your computer. It's basically like an old style chat room, but in more regulated, open, or more invitation based place to hang out with people. And we have a Discord server for Star Trek fans. It's not huge. It's not like this vast giant place where there's tons of conversation all the time. It's small and modest and but very positive. Nice place to meet people. every couple months we have what we call Trek After Dark, which is basically a group call for anybody that wants to participate. You can be on video, you can be on mic, you can just type along and listen and watch us. We just casually hang out and talk about whatever we have going on in life and watch episodes. Sometimes we play trivia, and sometimes we end up just talking all night because we like hanging out.
Yeah.
It's a cool way to get to know other Star Trek fans from all over the world, really, on a more personal level, and we've had a great time doing it. So if you're interested in joining that and having those kinds of opportunities, you can DM me on Twitter at TrekFan4387. I'll invite you. We have channels in that server for people to share what they're watching, watch logs. Like I know every time I watch an episode, I throw it out there, and if people want to talk about it, they talk about it. And if not, it's just a place to say, hey, this is what I'm watching.
Yeah.
There's a literature channel where people talk about what they're reading. There's off topic where people will talk about other things they're watching. So definitely would recommend, if you're a Discord user or you're curious about it, to send me that DM and we'll get you hooked up.
Yeah.
Our Mixon's Craziest Theories.
That's a great topic.
To be scared to visit.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of those. That's a whole different.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things we didn't mention here.
Yeah.
That's like the polar opposite of this. So, another good idea.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, we'll be back next week, I believe, with more Star Trek content. You guys know the drill. Bill talked about it. The discussion does not stop here. I think Twitter and Discord are probably our two main sources of keeping the conversation alive. I want to thank everybody in chat for joining us here today. You guys make the show. It's always great to hear from you guys and have your input as Bill and I are just blabbering on about Star Trek. So
yeah, absolutely,
it's good.
Yeah, appreciate everybody in the chat. Rob, Cyberhoney, ER Mixon's Craziest Theory, Jimmy77, Jeff, all the input you guys gave made the show better. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
And we look forward to seeing you next week.
Yep. Thanks everybody for watching.
See you, everybody.